Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the workshop. It's fantastic to have you here, as ever, because we're working on the BOWIE knife. That is right. I have just taken this out of its second tempering cycle at 200 degrees Celsius. It's still a little toasty, but as you'll remember in part 4, we have just hardened this puppy. The result of that is we do have a slight warp. Thankfully, however, we planned for this. We left it very thick before the hardening, and so now the plan is grind it straight, keep grinding it down. Wait, scratch that thought. I actually want to kind of abuse it a little bit and see if it breaks, see if it dents badly. Here's some mild steel. See if that tip is liable to break. Oh, it all looks pretty good. I tell you what though, this is giving me unfortunate flashbacks to that one time. Who knew BOWIE knives could also be steel draw knives? Still looks to be in pretty nice shape. Other than shining it up, it really looks like nothing is happening. So I'm pretty confident that we can move on and get this thing straight and grind it and know that, you know, it's not a conclusive test as to how well it's going to hold an edge, but it does show that if it was going to break, it would have broken at some point in this testing, so it's strong. Okay, so I have just had a look at this properly the first time. Now it's cool and I can get my eye on it. And it has actually a really bad warp. I really hope that you can see that. There we go, have a look at that belly there. Flip it over. So the warp is a little worse than I thought it would be, which has given me two options in my head. I previously thought we would just grind it out. That may not be possible. So we're gonna die commit. That's weird. I haven't felt the urge to sing a song. No singing required today. And I just spilt a load of blue dicum on me. I think it's inevitable at this point. It's gonna infect me. I'm gonna be blue dicum. So I'm trying to work out how it is that I'm going to set this up to scribe it. This has been an idea of mine. Take one of these V-blocks here, clamp it down, scribe it that way. But my bolster slash guard material, it really isn't very square in any orientations to the global center line of the blade. So I'm just going to quickly nip into the grinding room and see if we can get a little bit of a better reference surface to work off of. I'm going to throw a 120 grit belt on the grinder because that should allow us to get it a little flatter than, say, you know, a 60 or a 36. The trouble is, as I mentioned before, belt grinders, they're not super duper flat machines. And so it's a little less than ideal, especially when there's a surface grinder right there. I did say in the last episode that I wanted to try and make this thing using more basic tools. So, temptation. It's hard to resist the urge. I have no idea if I've made this better or worse. Okie dokie, we can't grind it, we've got to use some heat. Alright, so here's the plan. We got these bad boys set up here in the vise. We're going to heat this blade up. We're not going to heat the edge up, hopefully. And then we're going to lock it in there, and we're going to give her a squeeze. Okay. Oakley dokley. I think I'll let it cool a little bit. We'll pull her out. We'll see if it's straight. Okay, there we go. Blue temper at the spine. Edge didn't exceed a straw, which is good. Right, now is it straight? Is it straight? Righty-ho, let's have a look. Let's see. Oh, hello. That looks a decent bit better. Slightly, maybe. Okay, so here we go. Good bit of grinding, bringing everything down to the scribe lines. One side was much thicker than the other. We brought it down. 6.8 millimeters, 6.6, 6.3, 5.8, 4.86. So we got a good bit of distal taper along the whole thing too. But my concentration waned, and I made a big mistake. I tried coming in here and cleaning up this shoulder, and I just wasn't paying enough attention, and I let that slip into the belt, which means that we're gonna have to bring this whole face of the guard back another good little bit to get past that. Frankly, I should have known that I was losing concentration at that point and taken a little break, but there we go. That's the price I pay for that little education. Right, so after some deliberation, I've now decided what the plan is. The second step is gonna be for me to hand sand this flat area, and I wanna hand sand it so I can just be sure that it's flat before we move on to grinding the bevels, because we call this our bevel line. We use our bevel line to let us know how evenly we're grinding the bevels, but the bevel line is dependent on two things. One, the bevel, and two, the flat. The flat needs to be flat. The step that I'm going to take right now is going to be to bring that guard section down, fix that little hiccup that I had there, and also reduce these radii. I don't like the aesthetics of that heavy, almost half-inch radius that's in here. Or actually, no, it's probably more like a quarter-inch radius. I don't like that. I want a narrower radius, but not so much that we cause major stress concentrations. it's on to filing the ricasso. Got a small set of files. Now you might be asking yourself, Alec, why did you just hand sand that entire large area? Well, let me explain my thinking. I'm not sure if it's entirely correct, but here's what I was thinking. I could have ground in the bevels a good bit more and then ended up doing it when there was less material to sand, but my concern then would have been that I would have been rocking back and forth as I was sanding those flats. So here I had a wider surface to work on, which hopefully means that we kept a better degree of flatness on our piece. Right, so I'm going to apply some dicum on here. Ooh, fancy blood red dicum. Typical vandal. Make a scribe line across the spine. I'm taking a square off the spine. Give it a scribe. Gonna do it on both sides. Little scribe on the inside. And I'm going to use the calipers to scribe in where I want the bevel to come up to, I think. That might change when I look at it a little later on. We'll work off of that. It's now time for my favorite part of all of knife making, hand sanding. Oh, how I love to hand sand. It's my favorite thing in the world. Interesting thing I tried doing this morning for the first time. I tried using my Mountain Dew surface grinder cutting fluid for hand sanding, and let me tell you, the same fluid that's used for grinding industrially works really great for, would you guess it, sanding when you need to remove metal like this. It's almost like they call it a cutting fluid or something. Okay, that is 240 on one side. But we're going to call it there for today's episode, and I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow as we continue making progress. Don't forget to grab yourself some merchandise at alecsteelshop.com. It's a wonderful way for you to get an awesome t-shirt like this and support the show while you're at it. Thank you very much. I'm going to see you tomorrow.